just press it?
Oh,
there
I
you
just did.
All right. Wow, talk about the nick of time, Steve. That was like 500, and was that button there and we just missed it?
You know, I think it wasn't live until 4:55.
Okay.
What? I think it wasn't live until 4:55 was the problem.
I got you.
And that's why we didn't notice it.
Oh, that's funny.
So this interface I need to get used to, obviously.
Maybe take a screenshot and draw yourself a big red arrow pointing at that button.
Yeah.
But it does not explain why it didn't go live at 4:55.
Well, I think because that button probably appeared, but we didn't notice it appear and hit it. I didn't notice it appear, so we didn't know to hit it.
Automatic thing.
Well, I don't think automatic was enabled. I'll have to check out whether we can do that.
All right.
Anyway, cheers, Podfeet.
Can you guys see us on video now? We haven't confirmed that anybody else can see us,
Yeah, good
right?
point. You should.
Okay, Sandy sees us.
And you should see us both on YouTube and podfeet.com/live. John confirms
good.
YouTube. Good.
All right. It's a miracle. All right, it's time for roll call. The most important thing is that, unfortunately, Kevin was not able to be here today. He handed off supervision to Rick, but Rick can't be here either, and he handed off supervision to Sandy. So the ladies are in charge, and I can do anything I want to Steve. That's all that matters,
Oh, boy.
right?
It's going to be a rough one. Heaven help us.
All right, we've definitely taken over the world. When I said to Rick, I said, the ladies are taking over, and he says, yeah, you guys really should. An interesting statement. It was kind of a sigh under that. So let's do a little roll call. We do have Franco Carroll, who got a big shout out on Programming by Stealth this week. That was kind of fun. We got Jill, we got John, Sandy, we got Michael from Japan. We've got let's see, we got Wheels coming in there. Where's Rose?
Where is Rose?
Maybe everybody's watching the Laker game.
No, Dodgers.
Ladies rule. Sorry, Dodgers. Yes, Dodgers. All right. Well, we have a lot to do here today, Steve. We should probably kick off and get started.
We do.
It looks like Little Smokies. Oh my God! Every time I see Little Smokies, I think of the time they had them. Like one of those little stands where they'd cook them for you, in the grocery store, and you get to go take one, and it was just so good. And I bought a package of them. I got it, and I'm standing in line, and I had enough time in line to read the health ingredients on it, and I screamed and put them back.
Yeah, wasn't there a lot of nitrates or something?
Oh yeah, it's like they're made out of a mixture of nitrates and triglycerides, salt, fat. Man, I love those things, but they are just the worst thing in the world for you. Whew, good stuff. All right, I should probably record the show. Let me check my recording here. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan with a frog in her throat. You hear that? Hi, this is Allison. Okay, that worked. And I am ready to go.
So
Steve, I'm going to
before you do that, so you've got me live on Mimo and muted on Discord, right?
Correct.
Okay. Good.
So you can chatter away and talk over me if that's what you're asking.
No, I tend not to do that.
No. Not ever. All right. Goodbye, dear.
Bye-bye.
Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, October 25th, 2020, and this is show number 807. Well, this week's Chit Chat Across the Pond was a new installment of Programming by Stealth with Bart Bouchatz. In our next baby step in learning to use the version control system Git, Bart teaches us how to track changes. We start by doing a bit of housekeeping, especially for Mac users to set Git to always ignore those pesky .ds_store files. We learn how to stage and then commit a simple change. Then we stage and commit multiple changes and even learn to see the differences in our stage files from the database, all from the command line. While we all think we're capable of making one structural change and then committing the changes and making another structural change and then committing our changes, Bart knows that's not what actually happens. But there's still a way to follow Helma's advice to commit early and commit often. Bart teaches us how to divide the changes we inevitably make into separate commits with separate comments so we can figure out what we did later. I really enjoyed this installment because I could tell it was laying a very important foundation of understanding. If you're interested in learning about programming, right now is a great time to jump into the show as we work our way through the mini-series on version control. Just look for Programming by Stealth in your podcatcher of choice, or you can go to the link in the show notes. Alrighty. And I will do... gotta save. Did anybody tell me to save? Sandy, you do realize that you need a text expander step, but there, save please, so Kevin doesn't strangle me. All right, very well done. All right. Here's time for... Where's Mike Price? Now that he got to see his lovely keystroke. What was the keystroke?
Yeah, that's
it's
right.
Shift,
we got
Control, Option, Command, what? Was it G?
By the way, Kevin won't be here tonight, John.
B? I can't remember what the keystroke is. Command, Control, Option, Shift, and then what letter was it? Oh, H for Hindenburg. That's what it is. There we go. Copy link and copy. And there it goes. Whee! That was so exciting.
Amazing.
Every time. Every single time I will be that excited. Oops. Except I didn't have my thing in the right place. Can I move that? Yes, I can. And move it to where it should be. There it is. All right. Because I need a new one now. So now I
Won't they be out of order?
No. When you move it, it
it puts them in
time.
timeline order? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I just was able to slide it. Wait a minute. I don't think I did that right. Hang on. Pay attention. Why isn't it going? Shift, Control, Option, Command, H. Oh, there we go. It didn't make it. It makes a noise, so I know it's working, or not working. There we go. Here comes in Pepcom. Boom, 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 boom. All right, this is going to be...
You have a blank
very
one up
long.
front. Is that intentional?
Say what?
The first one is blank. Is that intentional? Does it matter?
That isn't one. That's the,
it isn't. Okay.
like the show artwork. There's always a blank looking thing up at the top. All right. That's in draft, right? Uh-oh. What is Security Bits doing? Oh, come on.
What happened?
Hang on. Let me check this. Let me refresh. A bunch of posts are showing his draft there. That's... Now the draft ones are draft as they should be. Whew. That was scary. Okay, let me open up Virtual Pepcom. Refresh error. That's nice. You're fine. Preview. Here we go. All right. Muting Steve. Whoa, he muted himself. Look at him go, girl. Okay. All right. One of the reasons Steve and I get so much out of going to CES each year is that we get to attend small events just for the press. In theory, these are hand-picked vendors by the people who run the event, so you can see the best stuff in a more efficient way than walking multi-soccer field-sized convention hall floors. One of our favorite press events is called PepCom. Like many other events, PepCom has gone virtual. I found the format of the virtual PepCom I attended this week to be very different from all the other virtual events I've been to, and I thought you might be interested in hearing about how it worked and about some of the vendors' products that I found interesting. When attending the in-person PepCom, Steve and I wander up and down the aisles looking at the signage, trying to figure out what product they're showing, and judging whether it might be of interest to the Nosilla castaways. If I spot something that looks promising, I go to the booth. Sometimes I have to wait my turn to talk to someone, and then I let them start explaining the product. If it sounds interesting, I nod thoughtfully, thank them. If it sounds uninteresting, I nod thoughtfully, thank them, and move on. If it sounds fun, though, I stop the person mid-sentence and I ask to do an interview and make them repeat everything they just told me. Virtual PepCom removed the uncomfortable bits of having to walk away from someone and made it much easier to figure out which products would be most likely to be of interest to our audience. Before the show, I was given a link and a logon that would only work during a specific span of time. When I got in there, there were 44 company logos in an array on a web page. At first, I was tempted to just start with the vendors I knew and loved, like Belkin, but I resisted that urge and instead started with a company I didn't know. Clicking on a logo took us to a common interface for every vendor. In the center of the screen was a video player where we could watch a marketing video that was supposed to convince us that they had a cool product. So instead of looking at signage, we were actually watching videos. Some companies had great videos that explained the product really well and encouraged me to go in. Others just put up some cool graphics with music that just seemed to be, like I said, just trying to be cool. I didn't even understand some of them. Like one was something about a Bentley, and I don't know what about Bentleys. It was the logo for Bentley, and I never did figure out what it was, so I moved along. If the video piqued my interest, though, I had a couple of options. I could use the Get Media Kit button to read about the product, and that really helped because I got an idea of what questions I wanted to ask. In real PepCon, vendors are always trying to hand you a paper with a press release, and the last thing in the world I want is to read right then. And the next least thing I want to do is carry around stacks of paper in my backpack. Turns out paper is like wood. When you get enough of it, it weighs a lot, so I never take paper. Now, if I had questions when I looked at the screen for a specific vendor, I could use the Chat with Rep button to open a text chat. Or I could use the Join Live Q&A button. That turned out to launch a private Zoom session just for you and that one vendor. Actually, for anybody who pushed it and that one vendor. So this was like walking up to the booth and listening to the questions from other people and waiting my turn to ask my own questions. The odd thing is, I only had to wait for my turn in a couple of booths. Most of the time, I got the vendor to myself, which was pretty fun, but that doesn't bode well for the people who put on PepCon. Maybe I just got lucky and I was just going where other people weren't, but I was surprised it wasn't more crowded. If I was interested enough to want to have further contact with the vendor, I could use the Meet the Team button to see photos of the company reps along with their email addresses, or I could use the generic Email the Company button. There was also a button to go to the website for the vendor. All of these buttons seemed like exactly what I needed to get a good experience from the vendor. They also had social media buttons, but I'm not really into following a vendor on Instagram, things like that. That just doesn't blow my dress up. Now, a few companies really phoned it in. I was really interested in seeing Anker's latest chargers, but instead of a button to join a Zoom call with live people, their virtual booth had a LinkedIn button instead. And the Chat with Rep button said the room was full, which I did not believe. That was a bummer, and I was disappointed by Anker. This format was engaging enough that I went to every single booth and spent over 3 hours talking to different vendors and learning about their products. I'd like to tell you about a few of them. The first booth I went to, actually, maybe I'll stop and I think I'll do a link to the vendors. It's going to be a lot of links, but I think that might be helpful. So you can get right to the UMA. Actually, let me do it the right way.
Do you want me to put them in the chat?
You could. Let's see what happens if I do that. Yeah, they just have the vendor name, but I could change that to UMA. That's fine. All right. We're going to talk about UMA here. Come back. The first booth I went to... Sorry, paused too long. The first booth I went to was for a company called UMA. They were showing off a new product they called UMA Tello 4G. This product is made up of a 4G cellular antenna that connects to a base station with an AC adapter. With this product, you're supposed to be able to get landline-like capabilities, but through 4G rather than the copper wire in your house. Mike Langberg, the representative, said the advantage is that if you lose power and internet, you can still make phone calls, which is true of a traditional landline. The kicker is that UMA phone service is only $12 a month. I'm not sure what a standalone traditional landline costs these days because it always ends up bundled, but that sounded pretty inexpensive. The other thing he talked about was the problem that cellular phones are still hard to accurately triangulate your position for a 911 call if you can't give them your address yourself. Mr. Langberg explained that because your phone is through UMA, they know your address when you call 911. Now, I recently got a new iPhone and remembered that when you set up Wi-Fi calling, one of the things it asks you is, hey, you want to have your address in here for 911 if you call from your house? And I did. So I think that problem actually has been kind of solved for when you're at home. Now, the Ooma Telo 4G does have an Ethernet jack. And so, sorry, I bumbled around here and I took my own line. The Ooma Telo 4G does have an Ethernet jack too, so you can connect it directly to your router. If you want essentially the opposite kind of a device, you can actually buy their Telo Air, which does Wi-Fi and not 4G. I'm not sure if these products would have super wide appeal, but I hadn't seen anything like this before. If you're interested, you can check it out at ooma.com. ClickBot are modular robot toys that you can program. The video on the landing page was pretty cool. It showed a little girl programming something that looked like a puppy, and later on a girl and a boy racing on different kinds of ClickBots. Sadly, when I went inside, the vendor had all kinds of audio problems. I helped him diagnose the first problem. He was on the wrong mic, but then his internet wasn't great, so there was a lot of compression on the audio, so I couldn't understand or hear him very well. The third problem was that the toys kept crawling around on their own, and they made little kind of noises, and that would cause his mic to mute on him. As cool as these robots were, and from what I could hear, the starter kit was $500, and the fanciest one was $1,100. I got to tell you, I don't even love my grandson Forbes that much, so I left and wished them luck on their audio. I didn't put a link to that one, Steve, so because that was just stupid. Sorry. How much money do you have to burn?
Yeah, I can understand why you wouldn't link to that one.
Mm-hmm.
We're up 1-0, by the way.
Oh, we are?
Yeah.
Okay, keep me posted. Okay, let me do the Yale one. All right.
Did you save? Sandy's giving you a little reminder.
Oh, I should. Give me 1 second. I am doing my chapter marks as I'm supposed to. All right. Love me some August people. All right, this is going to take a long time doing this, but I'm going to keep going. Muting Steve. You know I'm a huge fan of my August lock for my front door. August and Yale were both bought by a parent company from Sweden called Assa Abloy, so now Yale and August are working together. I went to talk to them because I wanted to first gush about how much I love my August smart lock and how I talk about it all the time as my favorite IoT device. Before letting them tell me about their products, I did take the time to give an enhancement suggestion to them. The August lock has 2 levels of access. Steve and I are the homeowners, and we can also add guests. Guests can unlock the door with their phones if they are at the house, so, within Bluetooth range. Owners have elevated privileges, and they can unlock the house remotely. Think about, like letting the dog sitter or housekeeper into the house while you're away. That's all fine and dandy, but when we had most of our house remodeled a few years ago, I didn't want all of the 28 different subcontractors to have access to unlock my door. I wanted the general contractor to let them in since he was the only one who knew whether the person at my door was legitimately supposed to be there. But that meant I had to make the general contractor to be an owner so he could let them in remotely. As an owner, that meant technically the general contractor could have removed Steve and me as owners. He could have even added other people as owners. Luckily, he never realized he had those privileges. Now, not that he was dishonest. He was a great guy, but he was a bit of a prankster and probably would have done that had he realized he could. I explained to the reps from August and Yale that they really needed an intermediate level between owner and guest. I came up with a few other scenarios where this would also be useful. Like, think if you've got a rental house and you've got a manager of the house, you would want that intermediate level for them. All right, finally, I let them tell me about their new product. Amy Polterock explained the Yale Smart Cabinet Lock. Much like the August door lock, the Smart Cabinet Lock allows you to keep a liquor cabinet locked or maybe to childproof a cabinet. The lock comes with 2 pieces. One is kind of a small white box on a stand with a hole in it that you screw down onto the floor of your cabinet, or you can adhesive tape it down on a cabinet shelf. The other is a bracket that either screws into the door, or again, you can use adhesive onto the door, and the bracket puts a pin into the stand piece when the door closes. Now, my impression from looking at the device is that it would get in the way a little bit in the cabinet, and you'd always have to reach around it to get to your stuff because it has to be at the front of the cabinet to connect with the door. It's not that big, but it would always be there. I did like that you could unlock it with your phone using either the Yale app or the August app. They did that so that if you're in one ecosystem of theirs already, you don't have to add another app. I asked about opening the cabinet remotely, which would be cool, and they said you could, but you need a separate Wi-Fi bridge to do that. I mentioned, hey, I've already got the August bridge, so I'd be golden, right? And they explained that you'd need a separate bridge for every single lock, and separate from your August lock. I suggested that was kind of annoying, and Amy said, yeah, we've been hearing that a lot. I also asked whether you could set the lock to auto unlock when you walk up to it with, say, your phone unlocked or your Apple Watch on your wrist, which means you're already authenticated, just like with the August Smart Lock for the front door. She said she'd have to get back to me on whether it could do that. If it can, then that might take away the annoyance of childproof locks on your cabinets. But if you have to fiddle with your phone and open an app to unlock, that's really not much of a benefit in my book. The Yale Smart Cabinet Lock is $80, and adding a Wi-Fi bridge brings the total to $130. I sure hope you only have to childproof one cabinet at that price, but, for a liquor cabinet, that might be worth it. You can find more about it at us.yalehome.com. This next one's cool. I really want this one, Steve.
Yeah. Of all the ones you did, this one is the most intriguing. Plus, I just love it for the science or just the creativity of it.
Yeah. This is an impeller.
I'll go ahead and give him the link.
Yeah. You could show him the picture. Give him the picture first. This one's pretty cool. All right, muting Steve. Yeah, that picture they have there, I don't think that's good. Use the one I put in the show notes. I think it's a little better. You can see what it is.
Okay.
A few years ago, I told you about the one Kickstarter product I've ever been willing to back. That was the Ampere Unravel 3-in-1 Qi Charger. Well, Ampere is back with another super innovative product, and again, they've done it on Kickstarter. Ampere CEO Chase Larson explained how they have solved two big problems in one product. We want to have a waterproof speaker in the shower, but speakers have to be charged, so it's always annoying to have to take them out and charge them. The Ampere Shower Power attaches where your shower head is currently, and then you connect your shower head to the shower power. The water flows through the shower pillar. Sorry, I read ahead. The water flows through the shower. I don't want to screw that up like that. The water flows. The Ampere Shower Power. The Ampere Shower Power attaches where your shower head is currently, and then you connect your shower head to the shower power. The water flows through the shower power, and with an impeller, that's like a propeller but inside instead of outside, the water hydro powers the speaker. So not only is it eco-friendly because you're not using any electricity to power the speaker, it also happens to be made out of recycled ocean plastic. I thought that was a really funny word, recycled ocean plastic. What he means was plastic bottles we idiot humans have allowed into the ocean. Shower Power will go on sale on Kickstarter for $50 on October 28th, and they expect full-scale production to start quite quickly with the goal of getting the products into people's hands by Christmas. He did say that was a goal. I do have to say I'm really tempted by this, and Steve, when I showed it to him, said that was the coolest thing I saw. They do also sell a $40 portable speaker they call the Droplet that will pair with the Shower Power. You can find the Kickstarter at ampere.shop. Now, Chase showed off a second product that is definitely made for these times. For years, I've seen UV sanitizers for phones, and I always thought they were kind of silly. But in these times, it sure doesn't sound so dumb. Ampere has, for pre-order, a device they call the Ampere Cell UV Sanitizer Wireless Charger. Kind of a big name. It's because it's a multi-purpose device. It's a UV sanitizer that works in 60 seconds, and it's a wireless charger for your phone, and it's a stand for the phone. The product design is pretty interesting. The top is the Qi charger with a USB-C port to power that. The top piece is connected to this accordion-style piece of plastic that you can kind of crunch down and pop up. This accordion design appears to have a couple of purposes. If you pull the charger top part up at an angle, the accordion can act as a tilted stand for the iPhone. If you pull it all the way straight up, I think that's how you expose the area into which you put the things you want to sanitize. You can obviously put in a phone, but they show AirPods and an Apple Pencil in there as examples of how you can sanitize all kinds of things. Chase went on to explain that the cell is made with silver ion-infused plastic to be antimicrobial. That sounded fake. I'd never heard of that before, but I did some research and it's a real thing. Chase told me about a bunch of accessories you can buy for the cell, including a nice-looking case and a charging cable, all of which have the same silver ion-infused plastic. I guess the idea is, why bother sanitizing your phone with Cell and then touch all the accessories of the Cell and get germed up again? Cell is available on pre-order for $80, not a Kickstarter, an actual pre-order, and you can have your choice of red, black, or turquoise for the color of the accordion part. You can check out Cell also at ampere.shop. All right. When did I start talking about that? Because now I should put that link in there. The top piece sounds so dumb. Ampere has, for pre-order, a device they call Top. Now, Chase showed off a second product. I'm hearing a hum. Did you just unmute, Steve, just the second?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm getting a hum.
That could be my fans are going a little bit. A hum or a background noise?
A hum, a low frequency
Let me
hum.
mute. How about now?
Yep, that stopped it. So it's only, I'm not hearing it. I wasn't hearing it on Discord. Ampere cell. And this is the Ampere shower power.
Yeah, Michael, really it probably was the pop.
Probably was the pop?
Michael heard some sort of pop.
Oh. How's the Dodgers doing?
They're up 2-0. Middle of the first. It's now Tampa Bay up.
So that explains, you guys, why Lindsay isn't here.
Yes. True Dodgers fan.
Am I saving? Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's what I was going to remind you of. Sandy tried to get your attention about, is that 3 or 6 times? Probably 3 times. Make
sure you get a screenshot to send that to Kevin. You know, we always got to give a full report.
Actually, that would be a good one right there.
Yeah. There's a screenshot coming up for this next one, and I think it's... Oh, and I can't give you a link to it because I could not find it online. I actually think it might be fake. So let me go ahead. You would show them the screenshot on this one. The screen just looks like artwork. I don't think it's real yet. All right, muting Steve. Next product is probably not for the typical and NosillaCastaway. It's called the SanDisk iExpand Wireless Charger Sync. And the problem it's supposed to solve is to help people back up their photos in full resolution, along with their videos and contacts. The device is a 10-watt fast wireless charger for Qi-compatible devices. So you simply set your Android or iPhone on it, and while it's charging, it downloads the full-res photos to its own internal storage. The iExpand device comes with 64, 128, or 256 gigabytes of internal storage. Now, I asked whether you could expand that storage, presuming they would have, an SD card slot or something of the sort, and they said no. I couldn't help but point out that the name is iExpand, and yet it can't be expanded. And, they make SD cards, right? This is SanDisk. Anyway, I know they use the iExpand branding for other devices, as I have an iExpand thumb drive, but the irony, I just couldn't pass it up to yank their chain. We talked a little bit about who this would be for, and I explained that if someone is using iCloud Photo Library, they probably don't have their full-res photos on the phone. So the claim that this backup could be, it could be misleading to say it's going to be full-res, because if you don't have the full-res photos on your phone, they're not going to be full-res when they get downloaded. That narrows the people who might benefit from this device to those who don't do any other backups and have a photo library smaller than 256 if they get the biggest one. I'm sure that's a community of people to be served, and perhaps you have friends or family members who would fit this category. The 64GB iExpand Wireless Charger Sync starts at $99 for 64 gigabytes and goes up to $199 for 128 gigabytes. Now, I always like to give you a link to a product, but I wasn't actually able to find this on the SanDisk website, so I'm thinking maybe it's not out yet. The screenshot they have of the device, the phone sort of looks like it has a fake graphic laid on top of it. It doesn't look real yet. So a lot of times, at CES, you get future products. This might be one of those. I don't really know, but that's why I don't have a link for you.
So this is pretty funny.
iPhone. What's that?
Sandy's comment, have they ever heard of iCloud?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and it's not wrong but I was just like, you might want to be careful when you're marketing this, that you don't lead people to believe they've got full res photos when they don't,
Good point.
So
there's that.
This is an interesting product. I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't dislike this one. This coming up yet.
I don't think it fits our use case, but it may fit other people's use case.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I like to try to do, is not always make it all about me. I mean, mostly about me, but not all.
All right.
Oh man, she's gone to town now.
Yeah.
Save.
A quadruple save. Wait, it's a triple.
It's 9. It's a
well, I
three
think
quad.
she's done it three
Try to
times.
get your attention. All right, here we go. We are big TiVo fans in my house, with a TiVo Bolt and 3 minis providing DVR functionality to most of the TVs in our house. I was confused when I talked to the reps at the TiVo booth, because the device they were announcing isn't a DVR at all. It's called the TiVo Stream 4K, and the problem it solves is how hard it is to figure out which streaming service is showing the programming you want to see. Couldn't agree more that this is a big problem, so I was intrigued. The TiVo Stream 4K looks kind of like a Chromecast, and in fact, it has Chromecast built in, allowing you to stream any of the content being provided. Anything that's in Google TV will be in Chromecast, so it'll be in the TiVo Stream 4K. This includes Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney+, Hulu, HBO Max, YouTube, and more, but of course not Apple TV Plus programming, because Apple isn't available through Google. Maybe it will be someday. They seem to be putting it everywhere, like on Roku's. Anyway, they say the TiVo 4K stream has exclusive access to TiVo Plus with 10,000 hours of movies, shows, sports, and more. I've never heard of TiVo Plus before, but since every other service seems to have a plus now, I guess it's good they have one too. The visual interface to finding what you want is their value add here. They claim that when you add a show to your favorites, it actually shows up in My Stuff. I thought that was a pretty bold statement, because every single other application I use fails at that one task. You go to Hulu, you put a favorite on it, you think it's going to be in your stuff. No, that's not where they put it. I don't know what those buttons are for. They're like placebo buttons, but this guy swears that this one actually works. In addition to the visual interface helping you to find your shows, the traditional TiVo remote that comes with the TiVo Stream 4K also has voice search. This is the same as you would get on an Android TV, and in fact, it's powered by Android TV. The TiVo Stream 4K is only $50 at TiVo.com. And note, there is no monthly service fee required for this device. If you've got a 4K TV without a good interface to find the shows you want to watch, I think this might be a good solution. There we go. Oh. Michael says the Baystar's former captain, I can't pronounce that, Tsugo, is on TV now. What's TV?
Tsugo.
And what's TV?
Tampa Bay, they're playing the Dodgers.
Oh, okay. Are you suggesting, Michael, that the World Series doesn't really represent the world? Sorry.
Did you do your save?
I did, Sandy. Thank you.
Good job, Sandy.
Okay. Do this one. Steve, I really want to get one of these. Did that work? I screwed up the thing.
Oh,
yeah,
let me check your work. Let's try this.
No, I think I did it wrong. I did a paste in the middle. Yeah, got over it. Okay, so
there
this
you
is
go. Good job.
I want one of these. The Boost Charge Pro 68.
This Belkin?
Yeah, this is cool. You have to wait and listen, though. Here we go.
Do I?
Go away. You're being a pest. I finally visited the Belkin, which is... Visited Belkin. That's what I want to say. Not the Belkin. I finally visited Belkin, which is always my favorite. Jen Warren from Belkin and I have been meeting together more often than I meet with some of my own family. I'm not kidding. Anyway, Jen reminded me up front that Belkin was featured on stage with the Apple announcement showing their up-and-coming MagSafe solution to charge your iPhone, AirPods, and Apple Watch. I cannot wait to get my hands on that one, but they're not available yet. I put my name in to be notified when they are. In the meantime, she showed off their gallium nitride high-speed chargers, including a 68-watt double-port charger they call the Boost Charge Pro 68. One USB-C port provides 50 to 60 watts, while the other port provides 18 watts. That's where they get the 68-watt name. At 60-watt power delivery, you can charge a MacBook Pro with this and have enough charge for a 12.9-inch iPad Pro, all in one tiny device. The Boost Charge 68 is $55, and it's available right now at Belkin.com. Jen was even more excited about their new Wemo Outdoor Dual Smart Plug. Wemo is a Belkin brand. Wemo devices are, of course, HomeKit compatible, and they work with the A-Lady and the G-Man as well. This dual smart plug is water and sun resistant to IP44 rating, which really kind of means rain and sun. Each plug also comes with a little cover to make it even more protected when it's not in use. The Wemo Outdoor Dual Smart Plug is $40 from Belkin.com and will be available later this month, so it's all ready for your Christmas lights. Finally, Jen teased that in a couple of weeks, Belkin was coming out with a super secret, cool new version of their Wi-Fi 6 mesh router. She was quite excited about it, and that got me excited to find out what they're up to next. Okay, there are some typos in here. For some reason, I've got the link in here twice. Let me see. Find Belkin. Yeah, why do I have that just thrown in the middle of the article? It's just splatted in there. That's probably left over from how I originally wrote this. Nomenclature. An iPad Pro. The P was not capitalized in Pro. That's just, I know. It's
unacceptable.
Right? Exactly. Sexist plugs. I was going to get the second one. It's not quite the way I wanted the link, but that's okay. They are. In the meantime, she showed off their gallium nitride high-speed chargers, including a 68-watt double. Jen was even more. Here we go. She was really excited about this plug. I don't know. I couldn't get Steve excited about it.
Well, I wasn't listening, but does it have any USB connectors, outlets?
No, it's an outdoor plug.
Oh, that one. Yeah, you did describe that. Yeah, because I don't have a use case. I used to, but I don't anymore. I used to plug our
Christmas lights.
Yeah, but they're all now internally plugged in. Because we have outlets now that were put in the garage that are close.
Oh, okay.
We didn't have those before.
Okay. But that Boost Charge Pro 68, one charger that can do your a giant iPad and or an iPhone and your Mac.
Yeah.
One charger.
Yeah, especially with Apple going to USB-C charging.
Yeah.
At least on the charger side, that is becoming more and more popular.
Here we go. I got a use for this outdoor plug, Steve.
All right.
Plug that into the outlet in the backyard, and it's got 2 ports, and we plug each of our HomePod minis into it.
So you get stereo?
Yeah. We're both going to get one. I want to get white, and you want to get black, right?
You do know the backyard outlet does have 2 outlets.
Shut up.
But I guess if you want to leave one open. Plus, if it's raining, I don't think we're going to have those iPod minis outside.
Well. Oh, wait a minute.
You think you want them outside when it's raining?
I can do what I wanted to do. Yes!
Oh, wait, I didn't see it.
I was doing something by hand. I was thinking that I always have to just grab the same link to copy, but the name isn't in it in these. But I just copied this title up here. You can't see what I'm doing anyway.
Jill, we did have rain today, amazingly. First rain.
0.03 inches.
0.03 inches. It was a downpour.
Actually, Jill has seen the video, Steve.
Oh, did she? Okay.
Yeah. Jill and I talk all the time. We're just always yakking about something. You could give each iPod mini its own little umbrella, Sandy says. All right, here we go.
All right.
Now, you know I'm not a big fan of music in general, but when I went away to college, I was very cool. I brought with me a triphonic stereo record player that came inside a suitcase. I thought I was all that in a bag of chips, let me tell you. When I saw that Victrola was at PepCom showing off a vinyl record player in a suitcase, I just had to go chat with them. They were showcasing two different models, the Canvas and the Eastwood. The Canvas is definitely marketed at kids, as it comes with CD-sized stickers for the kids to decorate the white suitcase. The Canvas is a classier, grown-up looking suitcase record player. Now, I don't know much about record players, as you might imagine, but it sounds impressive that Don Inman was hired because he was one of the reps that had worked for the House of Marley and Clips, and he was hired on to help integrate the Audio-Technica cartridge for the Eastwood and then to design their own cartridge for the Canvas. They talked about how much fun it is to bring that warm music of a real record back into your life. The Victrola record players are cool, retro, and fun devices, and for $80, the Canvas might be a really neat way to introduce vinyl records to your kids. If you're interested, you can check it out at victrola.com. Okay, what was I going to change? It's not Audio-Technical, it's Audio-Technica.
It's fun to see technology roll through cycles and vinyl becoming popular, well, semi-popular again. A little resurgence.
It's actually a huge resurgence. It's like supposed to be higher than CDs right now.
Oh, yeah, I imagine it is. But it's still probably not quite the...
Sorry.
The
Dodger game.
I missed that one. I was looking at your show and not the right screen here.
Let's see. Michael said, didn't it? Yeah, didn't
Jock Peterson, I think,
recently?
just hit a homer. Yes,
Who?
he did. Jock
Who was
Peterson.
it?
Jock Peterson.
Oh, he hadn't done that great earlier. That's good.
All
right.
He's hit a few.
Here comes the bottom line. The bottom line is that I really enjoyed PepCom, and I got a lot out of it, and for a virtual conference, I think it was really well done. We didn't get any interviews out of it, but I hope you heard about a product or two that sounded fun to you. All right, there we go. All right. Sorry, Sandy, you don't want to listen to the next one, because the next one's about my blue iPhone. Oh, wait, it's not blue. It's a white. I have a silver iPhone. I bought a really cheap case, and it's awesome. This case was $20, and the most important thing it has is, do you see how it's got a little slit in the corner there? That's where your phone case always breaks, right? This just bends automatically, so it's not going to crack there. It's very, very soft and lovely. It's made by, who's it made by? Case-Coup. That's who it was, Case-Coup. But anyway, look how shiny it is. No, don't look, Sandy. Don't look. Okay, I'm not going to talk about the iPhone in general because you've all heard about that, but I'm going to talk about what I care about on the iPhone.
What's that?
I got to go back to the
no spoilers
the main thing. LiDAR.
Of course, radar with a lie.
All right. H.
Oh
no, that's not it. This one. Copy link. Copy. I'm having to do a lot of. It's quarter till already. Hurry. You may not get to see me assemble everything if I keep doodling around here. There it is. Okay, here we go. I'm going to read this straight through. All right. Yeah, we're going to have fun with your husband, Sandy. Here we go. Okay, let's try that again.
Hey, Al? I'm not getting your audio in Mimo. Did you change something? Lost your audio. Let's see if I did anything here. I got nothing. Do you hear, yeah, Sandy, YouTube, are you hearing me in YouTube, Sandy, or just not Allison? You hear me in Discord, but in YouTube, do you hear just me and not Allison? Because I don't hear you in Mimo, which would be YouTube. Yeah, I see you, Al, but I don't hear you. Okay, bear with me. Yeah, Sandy, so YouTube is the same as Podfeet in terms of, it's just a retransmission of the same video and audio, YouTube and Podfeet. It's Discord that would be different. Let's see here. Why don't we hear her? Why would that have changed? Try flipping that, toggling that control that you had to toggle at the beginning. I'm going to turn you on Discord so I can hear you. I don't hear you in Discord. Okay.
Hello, hello, hello. Oh, that just changed it. And then YouTube Live. Okay, can you guys hear me right now? I think you should be able to hear me. Sandy's typing. Okay, so you're not going to be able to hear playback, but you should be able to hear me. I don't know why. Oh, Steve, you need to close the door.
Okay, so we should have her audio back.
Yeah.
Do you hear me, Al?
Know. Yes, I do. I have heard you the whole time, by the way. So I don't know why YouTube Live Input isn't happy with it, but that's fine. So you will not be able to hear playback.
Do you have a lot of playback?
I have no playback. I have to record. I'm late. Bye. There you go. Actually, I'm going to just start that over. I'm going to do this in one run. That's weird. I'm sure you've been inundated with articles about the new iPhones 11 that... Jeez. All right, try that one more time. I'm sure you've been inundated with articles about the new iPhones 12 that came out this week. I am not going to do an exhaustive review, but I'd like to touch on a couple of points that I haven't seen covered in great detail. It's a well-known marketing strategy to create a small, medium, and large version of your product because it is believed it'll help the consumer choose. Medium is obviously the right answer. So when Apple came out with 4 versions of the iPhone, it made choosing much more difficult. Now we have to pay attention to specs and really dig into them to figure out whether we care or not. One of the features that intrigued me when they announced the phones was that the iPhone 12 Pro and Pro Max would have a LiDAR scanner for night mode portraits, faster autofocus in low light, and next-level AR experiences. When the 2020 iPad Pro came out with LiDAR, there was barely a head nod to it. But when the iPhone 12 Pro came out, it turns out it is a much bigger deal to have LiDAR. Now, augmented reality seems to be slowly creeping along in capability and popularity, but it isn't a reason to buy a new iPhone or iPad just yet. But it was the faster autofocus in low light that caught my excitement. Apple has made continuous improvements in the iPhone's ability to capture good photos in low light, and I was also excited by buying the iPhone 12 Pro that Steve and I would be able to hand down our iPhone 11 Pros to our daughter Lindsay and our son Kyle, because it meant we would get better low light photos from each of them of our new granddaughters. I got the iPhone 12 Pro this week, and one of the first things I did was go into a dark closet to take some photos with it and the 11 Pro. I chose as my subject the bobblehead Einstein. I pulled the door of the closet about 80% shut, and I tried to take photos of him with the two phones. My first stumbling a little bit. My first observation was that the iPhone 11 Pro had trouble focusing on Einstein. And even though I was tapping directly on him to tell it where to focus, I still got a couple of blurry images. On my third try, I was able to coerce it into successfully focusing on the bobblehead. The iPhone 12 Pro had absolutely no trouble focusing on Einstein and captured him easily every single time. Now, the reason the 12 Pro could focus in near darkness and the 11 Pro struggled is probably because of the LiDAR in the 12 Pro. It seems that the hype lives up to the reality. Now let's talk a bit about how night mode on an iPhone 11 and 12 works. When night mode is enabled, iPhone calculates how many 1 second long exposures it will need to combine together to get enough light to make a good image. If you're hand holding the phone, it won't take more than 3, but if you use a tripod, it will sense that you're not moving, and it can allow up to 20 or 30 1 second exposures to be combined. You can drag a slider to change how many 1 second exposures the camera takes and combines to try to get your desired effect. After I was able to capture 2 good photos of Einstein with the 2 phones on the 12 Pro, I moved the slider to 0 seconds so I could see what a normal photo would look like in this level of darkness. The normal photo really illustrates how dark the closet was when I was taking the photos, and both the 11 and 12 Pro's cameras, dark mode, did an amazing job of capturing his features in that challenging condition. Without zooming in at all, the 11 Pro image of Einstein looks good, but it looks a little bit soft compared to the 12 Pro. In the show notes, I cropped in tight on Einstein's face so you can see why it looks a little soft. The 11 Pro image is noisier than the one taken by the 12 Pro. Now, the LiDAR in the 12 Pro is what allowed it to achieve a good focus, where the 11 Pro struggled, but the reduction in noise is achieved through different technologies. The 12 Pro has a wider aperture on what they call the wide lens. That's really like the normal lens, the one in the middle. The 12 Pro's wide lens's aperture is f1.6, where the 11 Pro's f1.8. So a smaller number means a bigger aperture. Yes. Okay, just double checking that I wrote that right. The wider aperture on the 12 Pro means that it lets in more light, and more light means less noise in the final image. In addition, the 12 Pro has an improved image signal processor and has a fancier HDR algorithm now called Smart HDR. Speaking of HDR, let's flesh out what high dynamic range actually is. We want to talk about that a little bit before we talk about video. When we look at a bright blue sky with white puffy clouds and a shadowed barn in front of a dark mountain, our eyes can see the entire range of light from bright to dark all at the same time. But camera sensors struggle with this. They can expose for the bright sky and clouds, but they lose the detail in the barn and mountain. Or they can expose for the dark areas, and then the sky and clouds get blown out and lose their detail. This happens because the sensors don't have the bit depth to achieve both at the same time. You can overcome this with 2 different methods. You can increase the bit depth, and you can capture images exposed at different levels of brightness and then combine them. In the iPhone 11 Pro, Apple used the neural engine to simulate an extended dynamic range. With all 4 models of the iPhone 12, we get the option to enable true HDR video at up to 60 frames per second, depending on the model and how you set it up in your phone. And the video is also in 10-bit dynamic range, so that's more bit depth than we've had before, and they use the proprietary Dolby Vision. Now, I wanted to see what the real-world differences would be between these two methods. Since I don't have a dark mountain with white puffy clouds to film, I picked an even more difficult setting. One of the hardest things to record is a computer or a phone screen and anything else at the same time. Normally, you have to lower the brightness on the display in order to have any hope of seeing anything on screen while also viewing the surroundings. I took a short video of my desk where I moved from looking at my 5K screen and my MacBook Pro monitor to looking at the shadows underneath both of them. I recorded with the 12 Pro and then the 11 Pro, and I had them both record at 60 frames per second in 4K. Now, if you watch the videos on any device, you can see a big difference, but you would be only able to appreciate the full beauty of the 4K HDR iPhone 12 Pro if you play it back on an HDR-capable device like a newer TV or an iPhone 12 Pro. The videos are also huge files, even though they're under 20 seconds. For that reason, in the show notes, I dumbed them down to 720p, which doesn't show off the beauty of the Dolby Vision HDR. But it will show you how the machine learning algorithms used on the iPhone 11 Pro aren't nearly as good as true 10-bit HDR recording. The biggest thing you'll notice is that when using the iPhone 11 Pro, as I move to look mostly at the screen, the exposure is suddenly adjusted downwards. It very quickly changes to expose the screen properly and puts everything else into almost pure darkness. And then it dramatically increases the exposure when I move to record the shadows. So you see the monitor get blown out when you move to the shadows. During those transitions, especially going from the screen to the shadows, you do see that blown out problem. The effect is rather jarring and it's not at all smooth. In contrast, the iPhone 12 Pro maintains a fairly consistent exposure throughout the videos. Now, at the very end of the video from the 11 Pro, you can see the screen of my MacBook Pro completely blown out when the camera exposes properly on my microphone in the shadowed chest of drawers behind it. In case you don't want to waste bandwidth watching the videos, I've included the final frame from the two cameras to illustrate how well the iPhone 12 Pro's HDR does in comparison. Now, the final part of my observation of the iPhone 12 Pro camera might have fit better where I was talking about how night mode works, but I can't actually explain what the camera did in this experiment, so I'm kind of making this more of a footnote, and it's really going to end with a question. As I explained earlier, night mode on the 11 and 12s takes a series of 1-second exposures, and it stacks them in camera to create a single, well-exposed image. I've noticed in using the iPhone 11 Pro that this technique seems to work even if something in view moves during capture of the image. I was able to prove this the other night when I had 2 cats as subjects. One cat was sitting on the recliner right next to me and never moved. The second cat was sitting on the coffee table about a foot or so away. When I took the shot, night mode chose 3 1-second exposures because I was hand-holding, and while I was taking the photo for those 3 seconds, the cat on the table first turned her head and then jumped entirely off the table while I was taking the shot. The resultant picture has the close, stationary cat perfectly exposed and perfectly focused with a high level of detail in her fur. The distant cat, who moved during the capture, is frozen in the position where she was when I started the capture, but she's kind of blurry and she's got a lot more noise in her compared to the close cat. Now, the EXIF data on the image says it was exposed for 1/29th of a second at ISO 1000 and f1.6. I have no idea how my phone captured this image. It may have simply discarded all of the images except the first one before the second cat moved. Or maybe the algorithm was smart enough to actually keep what didn't move from all the exposures and discard what changed, and somehow combine it and make that better photo of the close cat and only that single shot of the far cat. So if it only kept the first exposure, I wouldn't have expected the foreground cat to be so well exposed and with such low noise. And yet, what kind of sorcery would be required to track what changed and discard it while keeping the rest of the image? I suppose that 6-core A14 Bionic chip and the 4-core GPU in the iPhone 12 Pro have something to do with this, but that's kind of crazy if that's actually what happened. I am very curious. The bottom line is that while the iPhone 11 Pro camera is really amazing, I can definitely see a difference in low-light photography and in video with the new HDR mode on the iPhone 12 Pro. And if someone can explain that cat photo, I am all ears.
Whew. So maybe we should call Gracie blurry from now on.
Yeah. I don't know if you can tell in that shot. Does anybody have any idea how that could happen?
Well, I think you kind of hit on it, didn't you? Because Ada's had time since she was stationary to have multiple overlapped images, which reduces blurriness because the noise cancels.
Right.
But Grace
How did it
moves,
discard part of an image, though?
Well, so it detected Grace's move and only captured one frame with Grace in it and kept that one and discarded the others. So there's just one non-overlapping frame of Grace, and there are 3 or whatever overlapping frames of Ada where the noise.
But so that means it had to have cut Ada out of those other images.
Yes.
Right? It had to
yeah.
stitch around her. I can't believe it could do that. Do you think?
It can detect changes from frame to frame. It has to. So
sure.
So if it sees the change of the absence of something, it can deal with that. You can say, well, don't count that as part of Grace. I'm not going to average that into her because that's obviously not cat. That's background. That's the only thing I can figure. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense.
It sounds like sorcery to me. All right,
yeah.
I gotta bring us home here.
Keep going.
Okay. This week, I'd like to give a huge shout out to 2 Patreon supporters. Jens Jung just doubled his pet. Come on. Can't double pledge. This week, I'd love to give a huge shout out to 2 Patreon supporters. Jens Jung just doubled his pledge, which is absolutely outstanding and generous. In addition, Graham McKay just became a new patron and at a very generous level. Like, generous enough that I'm afraid he might have pressed the wrong button, so I've asked him, is he sure? Anyway, these 2 fine NosillaCast ways went to podfeed.com/Patreon and showed their appreciation for the content we provide here at the Podfeed Podcast, and for that, I am eternally grateful. All right, let's throw in a couple of, let's see, we got to have some security bits music. You guys, we've vamped so long. He had so few show notes. It was really kind of spooky. He had it was like probably could have been done in 15 minutes, but we dragged it out anyway. Oh, no, I want that one. Get rid of that one. I don't want to bring up Bart here. Maybe right about there. We'll do an Option T. There is a great video. A woman talking to herself, trying to talking to herself. What?
Do I hear at the beginning? Is that little little discussion by Bart?
Did you need to hear that?
I need to hear that.
Okay. There.
Oh, didn't hear it. Oh, that's right. We can't hear playback.
Oh, that's right.
Shoot.
All right.
Was it good?
It was blink. It was quite short and quiet. Let me check this here. So I was starting to say there is a video on YouTube of a woman giving herself advice in the past. So to play the video in the past, she's talking to herself from the future to tell her what's important about COVID. And one of the things she says is, get a dog. The dog is clutch. You're going to need a dog to take him for walks. Okay, let me check that one more time. Another heartbeat longer is what Steve would be telling me if he was here. Uh-oh, lights turned off. Show's over.
I am here. Yep. It is 6:05.
Okay.
You are late.
Yeah, who is fooling around with the feed, you know? It wasn't me.
Who was that anyway?
All right. Okay, I got Bart in, and now we got to drop in. We got to read the ending, and we're out. We're almost done, kids.
All right.
I know I'm keeping you after class.
You really are. All right, take us home, Podfeet.
Okay, I am. Well, that is going to wind us up for this week. Don't forget to send in your dumb questions, comments, and suggestions by emailing me at allison@podfeet.com. And if you haven't stopped the recording yet, I could use some recordings for next week because we're going to be doing something a little bit fun, and I'm not going to be able to spend quite as much time on the show. So if you have something you want to review, it is a really good time to send that in. Again, you can do that by sending them to me at allison@podfeet.com. And you can follow me on Twitter at podfeet. Now remember, if you're looking for anything, everything good starts with podfeet.com. You want to find Patreon? Where do you think it is? podfeet.com/Patreon. Want to maybe do a one-time donation? You want to go to PayPal? podfeet.com/PayPal. Want to join our Slack community like CJ did this week? podfeet.com/Slack. Want to join our Facebook community? podfeet.com/Facebook. And if you want to join in the fun of the live show where we missed Kevin and Rick this week, head on over to podfeet.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time and join the friendly and enthusiastic NosillaCastaways. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed. If you send no reviews, I will do an exhaustive history of Microsoft. You heard her, Jill. I mean, come on. You know, I heard Jill. She'll do it, too. Oh, my gosh. That's the best thing I've ever heard. Let's see. All right. We are a wrap. It is 6:07. Sorry for keeping you after class. Looks like we lost a couple of people, but I understand that. So we will say goodbye to everybody. I don't think Rose ever made it in, but she's usually here, and I'll kiss her goodbye anyway. Bye, everybody.
Good night, Podfeet.